Alito Jimachugman, this is Chief Steve coming at y'all with another episode of True Story. Now, before we get into it, make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up button, like this video, and if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to press that notification bell as well, so whenever I drop these bombs, you'll be the first ones to catch them. We got a pretty interesting one for you guys coming up, so without further ado, let's get into it. All right, Halito. This is Chief Steve, and I'm back. I'm feeling much better. If you guys did not know, I had posted in the community a few days ago that I was a little bit under the weather, and I'm feeling much better now, and I appreciate each and every one of you who took the time out to acknowledge that post and send your positive words, send your positive energy towards my way. Between you guys and my powwow, my wife, my healer, I'm on my feet again. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Like I said, taking the time out to reach out to me via the community post. So before I got under the weather, I was about to get into the Tocobaga Indians because there was a subscriber, one of the Nijis, who actually hails from that same tribe, and they've been trying to find some information on them. So I took the time out. I let them know that I was going to do my due diligence and make sure that I could find some kind of information to kind of help him on his journey, because that's what I'm here for. This is what I do as chief. You guys have questions, I do my best to answer them, because we are a community among all things, and we're here to help one another along our journeys. Each one teach one, iron sharpens iron, all that good stuff. But the bottom line is we got to look out for one another and encouraging each other to continue to build and keep on going on this journey, because hey, it gets lonely sometimes when you don't have the right proper support around you, and you're trying to find this truth out, and although it's hidden in plain sight, it's hard, or rather it's really easy to be overlooked, because especially when you don't have those that are pointing it out to you and letting you know, like, hey, this is what this is. And then on the surface, it's easy, and it's right there in plain sight, and you see it, you can catch some things, and then once you start to dig deeper, that's when the challenge comes in. You know what I mean? So like I said, I did a little digging on my own. I used the resources that are allowed for me, and honestly they're allowed to everyone else. So I'm going to show you guys those sources and everything, and we're going to go ahead and get into this. But before I do, let me go ahead and acknowledge this person that brought this to my attention, and we're gonna livicate. People usually say dedicate, but we're not dead. We're living, so we're gonna livicate this video to our Niji here that I'm about to present right now, so we can get a little more context and more of a visual as to how these Indians would have looked today, but still look today, because he is one of them. He acknowledges himself as such. He's done his lineage, and now we're going to help our Niji out. All right, so I'm going to pause for the cause. We're going to show you that comment. All right, so this came from Mazanavayu 4. I think I'm saying it right, Mazanavayu. If you're seeing this, you know who you are. So it says, I'm new here, first time ever watching your videos, and I appreciate you watching the video. And I'm glad to see that you're talking about this, because I keep looking for more info on this tribe that I'm from, and only a little bit of info is out there about the Tocobaga tribe. So, and then I let them know. I'll see if I could find some more information on them as well. If I do, I'll be sure to post it. Yokoki, thank you for your support. Tribe up. So, yep. I got you, my Niji. We gonna get into some of this information that I found right now, and actually, this may be a 2-part series. We might make a series out of this because I found some pretty interesting things. We're gonna go over some quick things in this go around, and then if I have to, we'll make a second video. So fear not, we got some information on them. So let's get into it. Again, appreciate the support and everything. So yeah, let's go. I got you. All right, so a lot of good books are out here on Google Books. So what you want to do in this particular situation, you want to go ahead and hit Tocobaga Indians. Go into that search, and you see they'll have some good books on here. We're gonna get into the Encyclopedia of Florida Indians. This first one right here. Now you see, search is already in there on the Google book, and everything Tocobaga, it takes you straight to the main part of which it talks about them. So in this Encyclopedia of Florida Indians, we're going to get into the Tocobaga, and this is the best that I can get the screen right now. It's in portrait mode. I usually do it in landscape, but if I turn it over, it's not going to show everything. So y'all bear with me. And plus I'm going to be reading it for you guys too. So it says, the Tocobaga Indians of the 16th and 17th centuries represent historic period Indians whose archaeological remains are the Safety Harbor culture. So they're part of the Safety Harbor culture. The territory of the Tocobaga, a generic name for several small chiefdoms, including the Usita, Pahoy, and Makako. Okay, so this is a nation of different tribes. This is a generic name for different tribes. So you have at least 3 different tribes that reside within the Tocobaga, within the Tocobaga culture. And it says, so these small chiefdoms was the greater Tampa Bay region of the Florida Gulf Coast, from Pasco County southward to Sarasota County. They spoke the Timucuan language, a derivative of the Muskogean. Okay, so they are overall Timucua people. Timucua. Okay, so, and that's a big nation of tribes and a language stock within the Florida region. Very big, and they are also a derivative of the Muskogean. Okay, so they are a part of those original southeastern bands of nations. And it says both of the early 16th century Spanish overland expeditions, that of Panfilo de Narvaez in 1528 and Hernando de Soto in 1539, are believed to have landed among the Tocobaga. So Hernando de Soto himself has encountered the Tocobaga tribe, the Tocobaga Indians within this region. In 1566, Pedro Menendez de Aviles, founder of St. Augustine, established a short-lived garrison at the town of Tocobaga. Okay, so a garrison is like a fort or, a little camp or whatever. and it says the town of Tocobaga. So Tocobaga was not only just the name of a people, they actually had a town. These aren't little villages, these are towns. Okay, straight up towns. It says, but the Indians expelled the Spaniards. They kicked them out and had little contact with Europeans other than fishermen and traders during the 17th century. They were never converted to Christianity. So they tried to come in and give them Christianity, try to give them religion, and they said, hell no, we're not going for that. This ain't happening. This ain't it. We kicking them out. So they were fighters. They were warriors. They had their own culture. They knew who they were, for one, and they had their own culture established, and they weren't going to let foreigners come in and try to ruin what they had going. They were strong people. All right. It says, when first encountered by the Spanish explorers, the Tocobaga were living in a number of autonomous villages. Occasionally, several villages were allied, with one village chief recognized as supreme. So within these different, within this nation of different chiefdoms, they had one chief that was, as the chief of chiefs, the supreme. All right. It says each village was composed of houses made of palm thatch placed over a pole framework. Certain structures, such as the house of the village chief, of temples, probably charnel houses, were built on flat-top mounds. Okay, so these were mound builders. These are mound builders. They come from that culture. Okay, they come from the mound building culture. So these are ancient people. Wooden carvings of birds adorned the roof of the temple, which fronted on a plaza. Charnel houses were used for cleaning and storing the bones of the dead. Later, the bones were often placed in mass in sand burial mounds. Many such mounds have been located by archaeologists, while among the Tocobaga, Narvaez was shown wooden boxes in which corpses' bones were stored and wrapped in painted deer hides, almost like mummies. They were mummified. They were wrapped up. The boxes had evidently been salvaged from wrecked Spanish ships and originally had contained goods being transported to or from New Spain. Okay, other items such as linens, cloth, gold, and feather headdresses were salvaged by the Tocobaga. Okay, the Spanish left only brief descriptions of everyday Tocobaga. However, we know that the Indians ate fish and shellfish, planted maize, corn, pumpkins, and beans. So they had the corns, beans, and squash. Corns, beans, and squash, and which we know as the Three Sisters, right? And utilized a variety of wild foods eared from the mainland. All right, and it says so they ate meat and everything too. Y'all forgive me for that. This thing is tripping. They made clay pottery and used a number of shell, bone, and stone tools. Hold on. We're going to pause for the cause and then I'm going to try to fix this real quick. Give me a second. All right. It says whether or not the Tocobaga had a system of clans is unknown. It is possible that the Tocobaga was related to the Timucuan language, but this remains to be proven. Okay, well, we know that the Timucuan was a large part of Floridian culture out there. So it's not too far of a stretch, especially if they're speaking the same language. It was related to the same language. Okay, and we have more proof on that as well. This isn't where we're going to stop. So we got more coming. It says, however, some of the proper names left by the Tocobaga appear to be Timucuan. Okay, so they have Timucuan names, right? So how can you not know that they don't have that same stock and they're not part of that same lineage? You know what I mean? So it's family out there. All of these tribes are connected in some kind of way, shape, and form. Little information on the numbers of the Tocobaga people is available. Most likely at the time of contact, the population was 5,000 to 8,000. That's what they believe. It says by the mid-18th century, the Tocobaga were decimated, a result of European diseases introduced by the Spanish explorers, traders, and fishermen. We already know when they're talking about we were taken out by diseases and things like that, that means that we were basically genocided. We were massacred in some ways, and in a lot of ways we were paper genocided. They were reclassified or they were moved off of their land in some way, and they're trying to say that they've become completely, extinct, when we know it's not true. As we saw our brother, our Niji, right there, Mazanavayu, I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah. He knows who he is. He knows where he's from. The Tocobaga are very much alive today. Okay? And it says, today only archaeological sites and documents stored in archives provide evidence of the existence of these Florida Indians. Okay? So that's the first of it. And then we're going to go ahead and go to the next thing. Right here. We're going to pause for the calls. Hey y'all, if y'all enjoying this video, make sure you hit that like button, press that thumbs up button. The more likes that we get on these videos, the more eyes and views that we'll get to have on these videos, as it'll increase its ranking in the algorithm of YouTube, and more people will be able to see the true story that has not been told. All right, so let's do our due diligence. Let's support one another. Let's hit this like button. And if you're new to the channel, like I said, subscribe, hit that notification bell. All right, we're not done. We're going to keep on going. Let's go ahead and get into the next segment. All right, so the next book that we found was the Indian Tribes of North America, and they mentioned them a few times on this page 146. So we're going to go ahead and get into that passage. All right, so right here on page 146, Bureau of American Ethnology. This is the Indian Tribes of North America. Tocobaga, meaning unknown, though Toko means in Timucua to come out or to proceed from, And the connections, it says si utina. Okay, so that's more of a telltale sign and more from another source, letting you know basically that they have Timucuan ties. The Tocobaga are tied to the Timucuan people, okay, in some way, to the Timucua culture. All right, and it says the Toko, first part, Toko, T-O-C-O, Toko, means to come out, to proceed from. So they must have came, or they must have left that Timucuan tribe, that Timucuan nation, and started their own. They came out of them. So that was their predecessors in a way. All right. And they had their own chiefdoms that they took out and they established on their own, So, excuse me. I don't know too much about the past story, and we're just digging. We're constantly, as they show you, a lot is not really known too much about them, but we're doing our best to try to put the pieces together. And it says on villages, it has a little bit on them right here. It says history, or it says villages. The main town was at or near Safety Harbor. Again, Safety Harbor at the head of Old Tampa Bay. All right, so this is the Tampa Bay area of Florida. History. Narvaez, the same explorer, Narvaez, probably landed in the territory in this tribe in 1528, but his chroniclers speak of meeting very few Indians. 11 years later, De Soto's expedition disembarked just south in Tampa Bay, but came into little contact with this tribe. 2 years after driving the French from St. John's River in 1565, Menendez visited Tocobaga and left a captain and 30 soldiers among them, all of whom were wiped out the year following. So these were fighters. The reason why there's not much information on them is because these Nijis out here were not allowing these explorers and these different colonizers and missionaries and mercenaries to come in and get all comfortable and write so much history on them, while at the same time trying to erase them and take them out. They did not let them get settled into where they were, which is a good thing. So if you're not finding too much information on these tribes, that's because they were fighting them back. And even the ones that we do have a lot of information on and stuff, there was a resistance. Don't get me wrong. There was definitely resistance. We definitely had our wars. But at the same time, the enemy was allowed to creep in some kind of way, shape, or form. But with the Tocobaga people, the people of Tocobaga, because it's different. Seems like it's different chiefdoms, different tribes and stuff that came together as one nation, and they had one town, one sovereign town at one point. So they were coming in to Tampa Bay, and this was their territory, their villages and stuff, but they were not allowing them to get comfortable and to settle in and really get to know them on that kind of level. Because for one, they were pressing religion, they were pressing Christianity on them. and they weren't going for that. They recognized the tricks of the enemy right then and there, and they were stopping them in their tracks. So that's why we don't have a lot of information on them. So don't be discouraged that you don't see a lot of them. Just know that, hey, these were fighters, these were warriors, these were people that weren't taking any shit from the colonizers. All right, that's a good thing. As it says right here, 30 soldiers among them, it says all of them were wiped out the year following. In 1612, a Spanish expedition was sent to punish the chiefs of Pahoy and Tocobaga because they had attacked the Christian Indians. So they had Christian Indians that were converted out there, that were trying to infiltrate that village, or trying to infiltrate that chiefdom, try to infiltrate their culture and their way, and trying to appeal and get to know them more, and basically get intel on them for the enemy, for the colonizer. But they ended up taking them out. They attacked them. They attacked the Christian Indians, but spent little time in the latter province. They spent little time out there. Why? Because they were running their asses out. It says there is no assured reference to a mission nearer than Acuera. Acuera is a mission that's established, that's around there, but it ain't that far. I mean, it ain't too close to them. It says, nor do the Tocobaga appear among the tribes which participated in the Great Timucua Revolt of 1656. So they're saying that the Tocobaga did not appear in those, amongst that revolt. Okay, and it says that's what they know. That's what they know. You know what I mean? It says ultimately it is probable that they joined the other Timucua and disappeared with them. Though disappeared, right? They were probably paper genocide. It says though they may have united with the Calusa, there's another tribe out there, it is also possible that they are the Tampacuas. The Tampacuas. Okay? So, and you can still hear Timucua in there, Tampacuas. So all of these tribes were related to one another in some way, shape, or form. These were nations out there, and they were all together. These were Nijis, okay, who appear later in the Appalachian country. And if so, they may have been the Indians placed in 1726 in a mission near St. Augustine called San Buenaventura under the name Macapiras or Amacapiras. See, like American Amacapiras or Macapiras. Okay, so there's a lot of reclassifying going on, a lot of displacing going on, and a lot of war, a lot of fighting. So amongst these war and this fighting, probably the smart move for them to do at one time, because they were just constantly coming, was to get up and move or try to get somewhere to higher ground. It says they went into the Appalachian country. So, they had to fall back a little bit and gather their numbers and stuff, or take the people that they had left, that from all this fighting and everything, especially since they know they was coming after them, because they were attacking these different Christian Indians and attacking these different settlers that were trying to come in, and missionaries and stuff that was trying to press religion on them. They were not having it. They were not having the Christian conversion. They were not going to bow down to their religion. So they were fighting them every step of the way. So amongst that fighting and in the midst of all that, they had to probably preserve their numbers and fall back, and they're saying that they even probably went into the Appalachian country, and that's when they were later renamed the Tampacua or the Macapiras or Amacapiras. They don't really know too much, and it's okay. That's fine. But we know that they are still alive and well, hence our Niji that reached out to us. It says connection in which they have been noted to the Atina, right? And it says the principal claim to notoriety on the part of the Tocobaga is the fact that Narvaez landed in their country in 1528. So that's the only reason why they know that's the notoriety on the part of the Tocobaga. Right there is that they did have some people come through that way, but at the same time they weren't able to stay there too long because they were taking them out, because they wanted to force religion on them and they weren't having it. These were mound builders. They had their own culture. They knew who they were, and they stood on business. All right. So that's one. That's another source right there. We're gonna go ahead and get into another. All right. So let's pause for the cause. Again, y'all, if y'all still with me, make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. If y'all really appreciating this information and this content, do me a favor, like this video. We need to get as many likes on here as possible. Let's help this community grow. Let's continue to grow and let's continue to lift one another up. All right. And if you guys do need some information or have any questions or anything of that nature, and I can possibly help you with, then my email is chiefsteve.yt@gmail.com. Chief Steve, all one word, CHIEFSTEVE.YT@gmail.com. Hit me up. Any kind of questions that you guys may have, and or some content that you recommend or would like to share and want me to speak and commentate on it, I'll be more than happy to assist you and oblige with that. All right, so without further ado, let's continue into this last segment. We're gonna wrap it up. All right, so this next book we're going to get into, and we're going to wrap it up here, is The Indians of the Southeastern United States, okay, by John Reed Swanton, page 196. So we're going to go ahead and get into that and read what they had to say. Okay, so you guys are probably going to notice that a lot of this reads similar to what we've been reading, and it's okay because like I said, we're putting the pieces together. And y'all forgive me because this portrait is the only way, the portrait version, this long version is the only way that I'm able to really get all these words in together. Because as y'all can see, I turn it this way to the landscape, can't really see too much of nothing. So we're doing active research here and we're getting this information as we can. So y'all bear with me, and I'm going to read this out to y'all. This again is The Indians of the Southeastern United States, all right, by Reed Swanton. So again, Tocobaga, a tribe of province. Okay, this was a province whose principal town was at the head of old Tampa Bay. All right, evidently the town site in Safety Harbor. The town was visited by Menendez in 1567, and he had with him the chief of the Calusa. So now we find out that Menendez, when he came out there, he had the chief of the Calusa with him. All right, that was the only way that they were able to get into the province. They were able to get into the tribe is because they had another chief with them that they knew. The chief of the Calusa, then at war, who was then at that time at war with the Indians of Tocobaga. So there was a war going on. That's why there was a lot of unaliving going on. It says 30 soldiers were left there under Captain Martinez de Cos to instruct the Indians in the faith. So they brought out soldiers. They brought out killers, basically, to instruct these Indians in the faith. So you got people coming out here with guns and muskets and weapons of brutality in order to instruct you on how to live your life, instruct you on the faith, in the religion. So as you can see, these weren't just people coming with Bibles and this and that and the other. We know that the Bible, King James Bible, wasn't invented till the 1600s. Yet at the same time, they had their own, previous doctrines and stuff leading up to then. Yet, at the same time, they weren't just coming with books in hand. These were soldiers. These were people who were trained for combat. And they were coming to quote, and they even put them in quotes right here, to quote, to instruct the Indians in the faith. All right, they weren't taking that instruction. That's why it says, but the latter were so unappreciative. Oh no, they were unappreciative that the following year they fell upon their guests and destroyed them all. They destroyed them all. They were unappreciative of the enforced instruction, and they fell upon them and they destroyed them. Well, it sounds to me, if they're soldiers, it was either destroy or be destroyed. And they chose themselves. Right? The Tocobaga seem to have been left alone after that. And they better leave their ass alone. Until the beginning of the following century, when we are informed that the chiefs of Pahoy and Tocobaga had attacked Christian Indians, and in consequence, an expedition was sent against them in 1612. So they sent out an expedition. These expeditions are mercenary missions, basically. They sent mercenaries, they sent soldiers out there on a mission, a task to destroy these people, because they were killing off the Christian Indians. They were killing off the ones that was trying to convert them. Y'all came to their house. Not y'all, the listeners. I'm talking about the colonizers. They came to their house trying to instruct them on something. And then once they said no, oh, y'all call them unappreciative. But y'all still trying to force feed them this religion and stuff that they don't want. So, and with your guns and your weapons of brutality and everything that you're coming with, straight up, they're not telling the whole story. You got to put it together. So they doing all that. They probably left them no choice but to take them out in order to preserve what they had, in order to preserve their life, in order to keep their peace. Especially in the time of war like this. So now y'all mad. Y'all want to send out a whole expedition. Y'all going to send a whole mission out on them. Y'all going to try to pull a mission. It says after this date, they again disappear from history. So they came out. They did an expedition on them. They brought all these soldiers out there. It was a fight. You got to understand. This was a fight. This was a war. This was a battle between the Tocobaga people and these Spanish settlers, the Spanish, okay? These Spanish Christians. This was a fight. So, again, they disappear from history, which means they probably put in the work and then they had to fall back, or things got, rocky and stuff, and they had to preserve their numbers and they had to fall back. It says, but it is possible that the Tampakua, who later appeared in the Appalachian country, again, were a part of them. The latter were probably the Macapiras or the Amacapiras, who were placed in a mission near St. Augustine called St. Buenaventura in 1726. So they fell back. Some of them were apparently captured and put in missions, but they went by a new name. It's kind of like what we do now. We put in some work, and then what? I'll just tell you right now, a lot of people that's in California, Southern California to be exact, you got some gangsters, you got some OGs and stuff. They do their dirt, they put in their time, and then we head out. We either go out to the desert, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna say where exactly, but sometimes we hide out in the desert, and sometimes we, go up to the mountains, and and that's just what Indians do. When we put that work in and we know that y'all coming after us, we're gonna fall back and we're gonna lay low. We're gonna keep it cool. That's what we call it. That's what we as Indians call it. We say we're gonna lay low for a minute. We went and laid low. And then, sometimes you got to go by another name. So especially if they coming for you, they looking for you and stuff. They looking for somebody with the specific name. And we're going to change our name. We're going to, and just go with the flow until everything cool down. That's what they call it. They say, what we Indians call it, they say the streets is hot. So all of this that happened after this expedition that it went through, and they probably took a lot of them out. And, the streets was hot. The village was hot. Florida was hot. So they had to fall back to the Appalachian country. Went by a new name. But the missions ended up getting some of them. All right. It says the Indians of both of these tribes are said to have been almost destroyed by pestilence in 1726. They were the pestilence. These colonizers, these people of the faith, were the pestilence. Their religion was the pestilence. Their paper genociding, their erasure, was the pestilence. Whereupon the survivors returned to their old country. Some were able to go back. It says Tocobaga population says we are told that the Menendez, that when Menendez was visiting the Tocobaga Indians, 1,500 warriors gathered near the town to receive him. 1,500 warriors. So when this dude came up pulled up, they had 1,500 armed and strapped to the teeth, ready to receive whatever was coming up over that hill. What was coming up off that coast. They was ready for them. So that just tell you right now who the Tocobaga Indians are. These are fighters. These are warriors. All right. But of course, there is no way of knowing how close an estimate Menendez chronicler made, nor how many of these Indians were bona fide members of the tribe. Mooney's estimate as of the year 1650 is 1,000. The Macapiras Indian brought to San Buenaventura were number 24. So if there were thousands and thousands, and they were only able to catch 24 of them, you already know. These were fighters. These were warriors. These people weren't taking any shit. And as you can see, the Tocobaga are still alive and well, i.e. via Arniji Mazanavayu, all right, and his bloodline, and everyone else who knows themselves as the Tocobaga. Okay, so yeah, this is it. This is who they are. This is who they be. This is the story. So we're gonna stop right here, and yeah, we'll definitely get into a part 2 because I got 2 more things that I can possibly go over, 2 more passages. But for the sake of time, we're gonna stop here. Let this marinate. Let this sink in, and we're gonna close out. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this first installment of the true story of the Tocobaga Indians, and we're definitely going to get into a part 2. So until then, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and share this information. All right, make sure it gets to as many eyes as possible, because there are some people that are still out there who still identify with this tribe, who still identify with this province, that are out there trying to find more information on who they are. So let's do our due diligence and let's continue to share this information. All right, this is Chief Steve signing off, saying Tatakista, I cherish you all, and Yokoki, thank you. We'll see you next time for part 2. Stay tuned.